One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three. All right, what's happening? Today I have an actually interesting topic to discuss. Believe it or not. Well, I mean, I hope all of them are somewhat interesting. But today I'm going to be talking about overcoming insecurities, essentially. So I haven't really touched on insecurities all that much, apart from briefly mentioning bigorexia on my other page, which is basically kind of body dysmorphia for like fitness people. But no, like I'm kind of not too busy today, so I was like, you know what, may as well keep the podcast pumping out. Obviously, I won't be uploading them every single day because I don't want to be boring everybody away. But I'm gonna try keep them going at a good consistent pace anyway. But I kind of essentially just want to touch up on insecurities, overcoming them, and how to deal with them. And yeah, because I just feel like a lot of people these days are very kind of in their own heads about how they're perceived by society and how they look. And I mean, in reality, like so many people are insecure, and I feel like it's something that when you're young, we have all these insecurities and all these problems, and the older you get, if you tackle it in the right way, you kind of like leave it behind and you let go of it and forget about it. But essentially, so let's take, for example, like the younger you are, the more prone you are to this, and the older you get, the less of a fuck you give. Like, look at older people in, for example, gyms and swimming pools. Like, they're like going around, they don't care about their physical image. Like, they're going around strutting their stuff, kind of, bringing it out in the open. While like young people are more than likely to hide everything. Well, I certainly do anyway, and I know most other people wouldn't be my age, wouldn't be going around kind of showing off everything. But uh, yeah, like that's the thing with old people as well. Like, kind of, you ever notice with old people? Like, old people also just wear whatever they want and say whatever they want without having a care in the world. But on the flip side, you kind of do meet these grumpy, really miserable old people who like think things the way think that things be done a certain way and aren't like adaptable to change. Which in today's society we all actually call boomers, and I mean, I used to call myself a boomer. Probably, I actually don't know if I am, to be honest. um, maybe I am, maybe I haven't. I don't know. I feel like I'm not really hip with the younger people these days, but I am open for change. That's I think it's the main thing here. But yeah, so that's set them off. You know me, I'm always kind of going off topic and moving off a tangent. But when we're going back to insecurities now, so when we were younger and in school and or college, it depends if you're at the college or not, but we were incredibly insecure about, like, we are insecure human beings. Like, that's our species. We're meant to be insecure. Well, not meant to be, but we're naturally insecure just because of our upbringing and social media and all them other kind of factors. But we, especially in school anyway, in secondary school and college, like, we're very worried about our appearance. Like, we're worried about what other people may think of us. And it goes to these philosophies of focusing too much on the exterior and materialism. And the external world is always like going to be there. It's always going to be like uncontrollable. It's going to do things that we don't like. But excuse me. But we can essentially control our interior in regards to our way of thinking, in our way of acting on things, our control of perception of things, and control of the information of things we find out. Like, the biggest cause of this would be social media, because we see these models and Instagram models, and we spend too much time like comparing ourselves to each other, and which is really the wrong way to be. Because like you can see back in the day, like no one really, back in the 80s, 90s, no one really cared how they looked, or, well, I'm sure people did, but it obviously wasn't as competitive these days. You don't have to worry about 10 people fighting over 10 people for one person, or etc., like trying to be the best out of the best, which is, of course, will lead to mental deterioration as well, because it'll help you, like, it'll make you feel shit about yourself, and kind of that's kind of what we don't want around here. But so insecurities, going back into insecurities. So insecurities, then the best way to deal with them. What's the best way to deal with insecurities? And I mean, you'd probably be a freak of nature if you didn't have insecurities, because we all have insecurities. Even I have insecurities. Even my even my family have insecurities. Is like everybody I know has some sort of insecurity one way or another, but we all have things that we aren't happy about and all things we rather change. But the best way of dealing with things that you're insecure about is pretty much hiding them. Like if you shy away from them, ignore them, not letting people know about them. I'm just fucking with you. I'm taking the piss, but that's literally the worst thing you do. But all serious though, the best thing you can do is making a joke about yourself. Like when you can laugh at yourself, when you're able to laugh at your own problems, you literally become untouchable. Like there's nothing that can break you. Like if you once you find your insecurity and you laugh about it and you take it lightly, it really does not matter. Like you are unbreakable. But it's a lot to be said for people who are secure, like people who are incredibly secure, people who are confident that say they're going to get further in life. Like people are going to like them more. They're going to be more outgoing. They're going to be more charismatic, and they're going to have a lot more opportunities. Like think about if you're very insecure, and people are like very insecure, like and people are very judgmental, and when they worry about what other people think of them, it's not a way. It's really not the way to find true happiness, and you're going to be end up being pretty miserable if you end up being insecure and comparing yourself to others and judging yourself and judging, or it really isn't a way to be happy. But first of all, like I think I said this before, but you really have to make a joke out of yourself. Like you got to examine, you really got to take a step back and see what you're insecure about. Like for me, for example, me was had pretty bad not body image, like being afraid of what I look like shirtless or naked or wherever way you want to put it in front of like girls or large crowds or public and kind of stuff like that. But currently now my insecurities would be, I don't know, my size. You can use your imagination and what kind of size I'm on about. But anyhow, it's probably because I've been comparing myself to other people, and we really should not be like that, which I've said before. But for me, I hated about how I looked in school and the part of college where I didn't like my face. I had shit hair. I was very skinny. I mean, some people could probably still make a case I still am pretty skinny, but it's whatever. And I was kind of worried about how it's perceived by society. But overall, as a whole, like the problems that you have, the issues that you have at a time and right now in this present moment might seem huge, but in the grand scheme of things, like it's fuck all. Like it doesn't matter. Like who gives a shit? Like we are an afterthought to people. Like the only reason we are worried and so insecure about something is because you think other people are judging you, and because you were judging other people for the same things. Like take for example, let me think. I have a big nose, let's say, and I'm not very happy about my nose. But when I see someone down the street, I will activate my reticular activating system, and I will look at them and have a glance and go to myself, comparing my nose to theirs. And the only reason I'm going to be so unhappy about my nose is because I'm judging other people. So maybe then my own insecurities come down to whatever starts me judging other people on their appearance and so on. But to overcome this, like you must first self-deprecate humor. You must use self-depreciating humor. Like if you can laugh at yourself, you are winning, and you aren't like untouchable. Like I've said, like you are winning in the world. Like once you have no fear, you've no insecurities, you are golden. Like nothing is going to change your way of thinking. No one's going to make you feel shit. You're going to be living a pretty happy life, essentially. But getting to the whole making a joke out of your own securities, it does put you in that unbreakable mental state of mind. Like people can't say shit and take all the power away from whatever it is. It's like it's like back in the day. I don't know if you got bullied in school or not, but it's like if someone got bullied in school and as a child, and someone goes to you, "Oh, you're fat and ugly," and then you'll probably reply like saying, "Oh, no, I'm not," like denying it, and then they go, "Yeah, you are," and you keep going, "No, you're fatter and you're uglier." Like it's just it, and so on. Like by doing this, you're giving the person who's insulting you more power to the words, and you put yourself underneath this hierarchy, argumental ladder, or whatever the hell you want to call it. But you're allowing yourself to get upset by words that you're enabling them, and giving the person taking the piss out of your power. So you're essentially allowing this person who's putting you down power, which we don't want at all. Like no one deserves to have this. No one deserves to be in this like upper pyramid of power. You know what I mean? But take for another example, like this is how you overcome this kind of thing. So take for example, if someone calls you fat or me fat or whatever, and you reply, "Yeah, I'm fucking massive, aren't I?" Like, I'm on the road to 50 stone, sure, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's more cushion to the pushing, and you're making a joke out of yourself, appreciating the humor. You're taking what they're saying and you're laughing at yourself because you're taking the insult thrown at you, and you're essentially taking power of a situation, controlling it. Like, let me think of a situation. Like one time, I think I was on a night out, I think, and oh yeah, I remember this now, yeah, and I think I was messing with a girl or something like that, and she goes to me, "Oh, go away, you with your 3 inch dick," and I'm like, and you know what, I find I don't really get insulted by that, and I find that funny, and I just go, "Well, it's actually 2 inches," like, and I think, and it's the fact that I'm making a joke out of the insult to me, because like girls do like to say to lads that, "Oh, their dick's so small," etc., etc. But like, I find that kind of funny because I kind of always slag myself when it comes to that, but it's like she's trying to take the mick out of me, but by laughing and slagging myself, I take the power away from the situation and I laugh at myself, and suddenly then there's no power to it, which is pretty much how you should handle any situation. Because if I retaliated, this would just like cause a flare up, and it just cause a bad atmosphere and animosity. And it's just kind of just things you don't really want. You just kind of want to be in that positive state of thinking at all times and just really not taking yourself seriously. But dealing with insecurities again, going back to, sorry, I'm just going off tangent, aren't I? Jesus. But yeah, if you're dealing with insecurities again, you want to be able to laugh at yourself and accept yourself. Like, you want to realize that if you can't accept yourself, then how do you expect others to accept you? Like this, if that's one key takeaway from this podcast, just remember what I said there. So if you want to be able to laugh at yourself and accept yourself, you want to realize that if you can't accept yourself, then how do you expect others to accept you? So whatever the insecurity is really up, like it's up to, like, really, if you really want to put it out there, if you really want to like get over this, you need to like put yourself out there. You need to learn to accept it and get over it. And then once you've done that, you learn not to be like a judgmental little fucking asshole. Like, but you think you're judging other people, and you think they're judging you, and it's why, like, when you're online, people are getting hatred, and if I get hated, I kind of often feel sorry for the other person that's like kind of hating on me, because if I get a hate for content I put up, or how I look, it's, you got to realize that the person, like, the reason that they're probably saying this is because they're not happy with themselves, and they are probably going to look at me and think I'm too lean or scrawny, and it makes them feel a certain way, and it makes them feel upset because they might want to make a change. Like, they might want to look like me. They might not want to look like me, but it makes them feel a certain way. It plays on like this pain system, and ultimately I become this thing in their eyes, and that makes them feel horrible. So they feel the need to lash out and attack at me, essentially. So yeah. So I've 14 minutes in. Jeez, I do ramble on a lot, don't I? But no, that, like, it is a very big topic to go on. I think it's not really addressed enough. Like, especially mental health. I know I was talking about this in my first podcast, but like, mental health, it really isn't talked about enough on, and body image issues. Like, a lot of people, like, if I was complaining about body image issues to someone, they'd be like, "Oh, shut up," or shut up. It's not, it's all in your head, which is kind of true. Like, it is all in your head. Like, no one, they are right, but I think the way that people kind of respond to it is just not really the best approach to get over it. But I'll move on anyway, because I just keep rambling on as usual. But um, like, the reason why people like slag you or give out about you online is because they're insecure about themselves. They judge themselves. They're very insecure. They're not happy the way they look and the way that they are. But again, I'm going back to by making a joke out of things and the self-depreciating humor, it will like strip all the power away from situations. So overall, the biggest fear or insecurity you have, you want to like let it out in the open. Like you want to put yourself in these situations where you make people judge you and you make you feel a certain way. Like the only way to get over your fear is to face it head on, and by getting scared. If you are, say, not willing to get scared, if you shy away from fear, then you're putting yourself in the state of aversion that that's not going to get you anywhere. But in order to grow, like a lot of people already know this, but in order to grow, in order to get into this state of ascension, you got to like get outside your comfort zone and allow yourself to get scared, because once you get scared and you overcome getting scared, it just becomes naturally easier and it helps you progress and grow as a person. But just going back to my just kind of my experience, let's say, like in my body image issues, I used to be afraid of, say, getting pictures taken, I'll be shirtless. Like I'd be afraid of girls seeing me shirtless, and if I left, I felt sick at the thought of how society perceived me. But it's only when I started to do things that deliberately scared me. Like I started walking around, I started walking around, like, say, in a tank top, like on a hot day. And when I worked in retail, like I'd be afraid of, talking to people or serving people, because I'd always like be afraid of my kind of slurring or stutter that I kind of did. Like I used to be. I'm not really insecure about my stuttering and slurring anymore. It's just kind of natural to me. It only means that I'm just nervous, but overall, it's not really a big factor in my life. But like I'd walk around, like say, I'd walk around, like going back to my whole tank top thing. Like it's just kind of overcoming fear. Like I'd walk around like either shirtless or whatever around town, and the first time I did, it was horrible. Like I felt sick and I felt everybody was judging me. But then I did it again, and then when I did it again, it wasn't so bad. Like it was bad to a point where it didn't feel great, but it was easier. And then I did it again. I did it again and again and again. And then over time, I kind of stopped giving a shit. Like I stopped caring if I didn't care if people looked at me. Like I just realized like they were just curious, because at the end of the day, like we're all animals, and if we see something unusual, like if something doesn't align with the perfect what the human perfect or the perfect human looks like or whatever it is, like we pick up on it and we look at it and we perceive it, and that it could be a threat. And this goes back to the prehistoric times. Like people aren't judging you and think that's disgusting. It's just you judging yourself. Like once you stop caring, like it feels great. Like you feel like you have this reward mechanism, because you're like, because once you overcome something, that's a sense of progression. It's knowing that you've improved and done the impossible. Like it sets you up to win, knowing that you get this great feeling. Like something that was once scary and horrible is now exciting and joyful, and it will help you actively seek these progressions of like tackling fear. That's why, like I have this. I'm drilled into my mindset now. If I encounter anything that scares me, like I'm going to go for it. Like I'm not going to run away from it. I need to tackle it, because I need to grow. I need to personally keep growing and self-developing as a person. Like there's an analogy I like to use. It's about a bike. I don't know if anyone's ever heard this from me, but it's like life's like kind of riding a bike. Like you can either keep going forwards or backwards, but if you stay still, you'll fall off. So that's why I'm always like doing that 1% better every day. It's those marginal gains, you know what I mean? Like we're humans, like we're designed to reach our maximum potential. But next, if I'm on about sorry, Jesus, I lost my train of thought again. But I need to get better at this. I need to like actually start writing out what I need to say and planning these structures. I just have too much of a bad habit of being impatient, just winging it. That's probably a neat thing I need to work on for 2021. I need to kind of write that in my goals or whatever. But it is whatever. Like I think I'm getting my point across anyway. I hope. But yeah. But like next for me was like say my body image issues again. Like the next, and say working in retail. Like the next thing would be for me. You say if I was at a festival, I'd know there's thousands of people around me, and like as I was so conscious and self-conscious of my body, like I'd take off my shirt and just kind of experience the hate. Like I know, yeah, people are always going to make a comment, and I know I'm probably perceived as an asshole, which is whatever. Like I probably am. Like all my friends probably think I'm an asshole for always taking off my shirt, but I just kind of it helps me now, like to a point where I don't need to be insecure about how I look. And I think a lot of people should like kind of take that as well. Like a lot of people are like a lot of people do wear like these clothes like to kind of hide their insecurities, which we really shouldn't do. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if someone does say something to you, like I said, they have a problem with them. There's a problem. They have an issue with like with themselves, and you really probably shouldn't hang around with a person who kind of just gives you negativity like that. Because we're all about like trying to keep that positive energy going. But then if I'm like say working in retail, like I'd have to actively do things I'm afraid of. I'd have to actively kind of go out and try make conversation with people I was serving. If I was in a shop being served with someone else, I'd actively try to make conversation with them. Or if I was scared of asking questions, like I'd have to go to a shop and ask somebody who works there just to help me out or do something along those lines, just to kind of force me to be social and force me not to be isolated to this shy kind of insecure person. But that's the thing. Like even if it's not like that would have been big for me back in the day, but it's probably nothing to an average confident person. But it's just all about them small wins. Like when you grow as a person, that's when you know like when you look back on how far you've come, like you really should not hide or flaunt your insecurities. You just don't hide, just flaunt it, get it out in the open, put yourself out there, step outside your comfort zone, and like you give an inch and gradually turns into a mile. That's another quote as well. Like once you give an inch, it just turns into a mile. It's kind of unbelievable in a way. But like even in a few years, you'll look back and think, why did you give a shit about that? Like if something doesn't matter to you in 1 year's time, like again, I'm going off a tangent, but like to take a parking ticket, for example, like it might seem the worst thing in the world, you get a parking ticket, but like really, who does care about a parking ticket? Like it's not going to affect you in a year. It's just money which is materialistic, that you should not be kind of too dependent on. Like I know I'm pretty bad at money now, but like you do need it, but it's just materialistic items at the end of the day. Like I'd much rather have an experience. I'd much rather do something that scared me. I'd much rather do something new. I'd rather pick up a new hobby rather than worry about keeping €80 that I paid for not getting a parking ticket or not using a parking ticket. It's just kind of small things like that. When you look back in a year, it's like, would I rather not get a parking ticket or would I rather find a new passion? It's or like even with insecurities, like say, would I rather, like you're thinking, what if I wasn't so insecure, I could have done this. If I wasn't so self-conscious about myself, I could have done this. I could have just lived my life to this like full potential. And that's what kind of like holds a lot of people back with insecurities. So that's why I think you should joke about your insecurities. Like you're really like, once you stop taking yourself seriously, like your life is just going to change. It's madness. Like, but to the whole issue, like just to round off, because I'm not going to ramble on too much again, because I always find myself rambling on too much because I'm a bit of a spoofer, but the whole issue seems like the issues you're experiencing them. Like if you allow something to bother you, like take a step back, like take a few deep breaths and realize that it's probably not going to matter in a few years' time. Like at the end of the day, like you've got to realize like someone's always got it worse than you do. Like we have an issue of looking up to people, but if you really think about it, you got to look down at people that are like doing worse than you, because it really makes you appreciate what you have and makes you realize that, Jesus, like I could be a lot worse. Like you're definitely, like we're all in better positions than like 90% of the world at least, because it's a poor way of living. Like it's a big world out there, but you got to realize that like the issue you might have might actually be not bad. You just got to learn to live with it, learn to deal with it, get over it, and put your insecurities on display. And yeah, I think I'll just round it off there, because that's pretty much what I got to say. I think if I speak anymore, I'm just going to be rambling on a bit. But yeah, I'm kind of getting into the groove of these podcasts now. I'm going to like try and make them a habit. I'm not going to upload like 5 a day or anything crazy like that, because I don't want to be boring everybody. But it's been my last one anyway for a few days, or maybe a couple of days at least. I don't know. I'm hoping to get people on soon. I'm just trying to figure it out on my own, kind of how this whole podcast thing works, because I don't know. I feel like some of my Instagram posts, I don't really get my point across because my captions, like my characters, are so limited. So I think with this podcast, I think it's better just to get out in the open, which is grand. But yeah, I won't advertise this one because I don't want to put up too many stories. I don't want to be boring people or annoying people either. But um, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think of this one. Definitely probably a improvement from my first two, because I'm all like stuttery and nervous and everything. But kind of, I don't know, I feel a bit comfortable now, kind of getting my point across. But then I'm going to think of more things to write. I have a few topics I want to talk about anyway, and then I have a few like kind of topics I want with like other people as well. So hopefully, if I get them, that'll be kind of cool, because believe it or not, talking by yourself is a lot. It's a lot more difficult than talking to other people, because with other people, like it's more of a conversation. But when yourself, you're like constantly think, which is a bit leads me to all these mistakes I make. But I'm only improving on it. But yeah, thanks very much for listening, and hopefully I can improve. And yeah, I'm just going to end the podcast here. All right, have a good day. Take care.